Hey everybody, welcome back. In this video, we're going to be going over a drill that we call four corners. And it doesn't have to be four objects, but that's what we have out here today. This is kind of our standard default, and this is advancing your place training in both environment and context. So this is the steps that we like to do after your dog is really solid with place training inside. And so if you've advanced to the point where you can do multiple objects, you can do different rooms, and your dog understands the idea behind place and the boundaries that we're setting with it, the expectations when we tell them to get an object, and the settled behavior. Now let's start working our way outside into the real world. This is a very tangible drill that's easy for dogs and owners to understand how to start taking the structure that we're working so hard on inside the home and now transferring out into the real world. That is the goal, is that we can have dogs that act the same inside the home, outside the home, front yard, backyard, downtown, at the farmer's market, or at a family barbecue. We get a dog that's responsive to commands, that can cooperate with our intentions. We can help monitor their emotional state, and we can help them regulate those emotions as well. And so what we have set up here today is nothing more than a little shell game, or a little lily pad game, if you want to look at it this way. Out here in the driveway today, I always pick four random objects. We have a kennel, we have a place bed, one of those mesh raised ones, we have a comfy dog bed, and then I just threw out a lid to one of those Home Depot storage totes. And so the idea is that you put out objects that are different from the ground, the surface. So you could literally lay out, a bath towel or a welcome mat. You could do a plyometric box like for working out. You can use any type of object that your dog can safely get onto that is, like I said, different from the surface of the ground. Now, the beginning stages, having a raised object is going to help you out. And that's just going to make it easier for your dog to understand those boundaries. The kennel is obviously much easier for your dog to understand than that Tupperware lid over there. And a welcome mat would be a little bit more difficult, a little bit more advanced as well. Now you can always work up to that, and you should be advancing. And I honestly want you to be switching up the context somewhat regularly. This is another powerful progression with our place training, is I don't want you to be using the same object constantly. Once they're through that initial learning phase and they understand the concept, now I want you to switch up the context almost as much as you possibly can. That's going to create more confidence. It's going to create more understanding and mastery of that actual command and the actual skill, more than just using that same bed for 2 years. Yeah, Rush knows this bed really well, but if you were to tell him place on anything other than this bed, he loses it and he can't do it. And it has to be in one corner of the house. Like, that's not a functional command, and that's what we're trying to advance to. So as we move our dog around the objects, it's up to us to use leash manipulation and our verbal markers to ensure our dog understands that this place that he knows very well is going to also be the same expectations as this place when I tell him it on this command. And so remember, by using our verbal markers and by using leash pressure, that's how you're going to communicate it clearly to your dog. Come. For instance, if your dog is just starting out, remember the leash pressure class that we teach, where it's place, good, down. And that leash pressure is going to guide your dog up onto the object, and then as they advance, they'll become more settled. Now, if this is your first time doing this drill outside, your dog is probably not going to default into the down command like Rush just did. That's a lot of training. He really knows this drill well, and so he obviously knows how to settle into that down command on his bed more than the average dog who's just starting this off for the first time. So what I want you to do is you're going to approximate your criteria. And what I mean by that is you're not going to be expecting your dog to come out here and do it perfectly the first time. We're going to teach them in phases, teach them in steps how to be successful. Morning. The first metric that I want you to be focused on is getting your dog on the object, and the number one rule is you have to stay on the object. All four paws on the object, no exceptions to that. I don't care if they're in the standing position. I don't care if they turn and rotate and face you. I don't care if they sit and lay down, amazing, definitely reward them for it. But they can do whatever they want on there. as long as they're staying on the object themselves. They have to control their body that much. So once we put our dog up on the object, come. I'm going to show you on the yellow Tupperware because that'll be the least likely for Rush to settle on by himself naturally. Place. So once he's on there, I just step back away. And again, lots of training so he knows just to default into the down on things that I tell him to place on. This is something that I like to condition with a dog because I want them to settle that physical behavior, right? Now, the thing that I first start doing is once I put them on the object, I immediately give them space. This is why you need to be doing this with a 10-foot leash or longer at the beginning stages. No. So that way I can leave him on his object and I can step away from him and I can move around him, working on some independence, working on me being separate movement-wise from him. And then this is how we advance to a dog that can do this at the coffee shop, in the kitchen when we're hosting a dinner party. All the advanced sight pictures stem from showing them this in this context early on. So that is essentially what you guys are going to be doing early on. Come. Move them over to an object, place, use leash pressure if you need to, and then walk away. And if they try to follow you, you're going to step in, remember that spatial pressure, give them leash pressure back up to the bed, drop the leash pressure, walk away again. I don't want you saying stay constantly. I don't want you repeating the place command once they're on there. Just tell them place. Once you get all 4 paws on, take a couple steps away. And if your dog follows you, and reset them back. You're almost anticipating that they will follow you early on because they're going to be learning it. They're not going to be as good about it. So once you put them on the bed, you walk away, move them back. And then once you get all the way to the end of the leash, if your dog's staying, yes, we can mark it with a clicker or your verbal marker, come back in, give them a treat, step back out again. And then we can try to do a little bit of sideways movement. Your dog should remain there. Now remember, they might be standing up and they might be turning and rotating with you. That's totally fine. Yes, move back in nice and calmly. Give them a treat on place, move back out again. And then you're going to continue that progression of moving away and moving around your dog until you can get to the point where your dog is in a settled body position. A lot of owners always ask me, how do I know when it's time to move my dog to the next object? The idea behind that is you're going to use your dog as the assessment. If your dog is constantly coming off the bed, then you have to constantly fight that battle of wills and reset them. Now, once you get to the point where even if they're standing up at the edge of the bed, but they're remaining on it until you can do at least a circle in each direction without coming off, come. Then we can move them to the next object. Place. Good boy. Yes. And repeat the game. This game is going to feel monotonous for you more than it is your dog. And your dog might be super bored with it as well, but that's the point. The point is that we're teaching your dog to be okay being bored, to settle down, to use their brain, to control their impulses. And the one thing we haven't even talked about yet is the benefits we're doing to build environmental neutrality while we're working on this drill. So as far as your dog's concerned, they will be bored. That's the point. Get used to being bored and being okay with it, staying on one position, settling into this position. This 9-month-old pup right here, Rush, he would love to come jump all over me and go run and go play. It's early in the morning. He's got all his energy. But what are we working on right now? We're working on that calm demeanor, that impulse control, the emotional regulation, all those really, really positive behavioral benefits that we need to focus on. And so as I move around, you guys can get as creative as you'd like. If you guys have kids, they should be running around, I mean, obviously safely, but running around doing their normal thing, blowing bubbles, chasing each other, swinging on their play set, whatever the case is, whatever is your normal life. I want the family to be doing that because that desensitizes your dog from thinking, I get to go run and join in. I'm going to go chase after them. I'm going to be scared by something. And it just teaches them to control their position and remain there, and everything else is just going to happen around them. Now the caveat with that is if you have a bunch of kids, if there's other dogs, if there's other things in the environment, you have to also advocate for your dog's space. So I would highly recommend you don't have a lot of kids or people or strangers walking by coming into your dog's space. While you're doing this four corners drill or the variation of it, anyone that passes by or anyone around here, just ignore the dog. Whoever's got the leash is in control of the dog, and you can switch out family members of whoever's working with your dog. But whoever's got the leash is in control of them. Everyone else, please just ignore my dog. If there's other passerbys that go by, no thank you, we're training. Please ignore them. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Have an awesome walk. If I let every single person in the neighborhood walk past here and come say hi to Rush, he would be targeting that person that's walking by behind the van right now. He would be targeting the next family that walks by on the bike path because he's anticipating, either in a good or bad way, he's still anticipating them coming to say hi to him, which at the end of the day is not a beneficial mindset to have for our puppy. Come. Now I have the kennel out here because usually that's the first thing that I'll teach dogs is the kennel command, and we can have a really beneficial transfer of learning out here. But this is also to show you guys how you can really work on different obstacles and confidence work out here as far as getting your dog to do things abnormal. Rush up. Good boy, buddy. Good boy. You got to get in the running start. Up. Good. Good job. Yes. And so he didn't make it the first time. He biffed it. He didn't time his jump right. He just did the puppy body slam. I reset him, help him back up there. Now he has to control his body, and he still immediately settles into that position. If you're having a dog that won't settle, getting them up on a more raised object may help you sometimes, because usually that distance from the ground might be a little bit of a deterrent to keep them on the object. Doesn't mean you won't have to reset them ever, but it will be a little bit easier for them on average. Good job, buddy. And so this is limited to your imagination. Whatever's safe for your dog, you can use as a place object. This is our vehicle down here at the bottom of the driveway. I always recommend to owners, if your vehicle is in the driveway or at the base of the driveway, pop one of those back doors open, pop the hatch open, throw a dog bed inside there, or just use the back seat. And now you have a fifth object there. If you wanted to put them in the, no, down. If you wanted to put them in the vehicle, and you can use that as one of your place objects. As you guys progress, you want to move this four corners game, this lily pad game, from your living room out into the garage, out into the back patio, out into the driveway, out into the apartment breezeway, down by the parking lot. You guys can play this game literally anywhere. And if you only have a couple objects, awesome. Bring their dog bed out and bring a random object that you can do place on, and just do it back and forth between two. You can have 30 objects if you wanted to. You could have an entire lily pad game up and down the bike paths, again, depending on your situation. Now the overall theme is, again, to create a calm mental state for your dog in multiple environments with multiple different contexts of that command place. That's the ultimate goal of what we are working for. How we are going to progress that, because Rush is showing you more of a finished product. How we're going to progress that is, first step, enforce the boundaries of place. Again, I don't care what they're doing with their body or with their position. If they're standing, that's fine. Even if they're barking, I obviously don't want them barking constantly, so you can disrupt that if it's effective. But if you have a reactive dog out here in the driveway, just anticipate they're going to bark. Every single person that walks by, that barking will get less and less intense. Nope, down. Less and less They will become less and less vocal. When you're progressing, you're going to see your dog go from a standing, anxious state to the point where you do enough circles around them and enough rotations around these 4 objects and then repeat and then repeat. Your dog will start to sit on their own. Come. And then your dog will start to lay down on their own. Every object will be a different reaction initially from your dog as well. The reason why I like putting a comfy dog bed out here, a kennel, and a elevated mesh bed that they're very used to spending hours on inside the house is because then when I tell Rush, place, he automatically knows I lay down on this dog bed because this is my normal behavior for this object. So you are stacking that behavior, positively transferring it outside. That learning is transferring and it's helping you create a calmer dog out here. I promise you, your dog will show a more settled behavior on their favorite comfy dog bed if you bring it out into the driveway or into the garage if that's too intense for them. And if you put that comfy bed on top of one of these raised beds, it's even more of a cherry on top and you'll get that calm behavior quicker. But the reality is you will not see a change in demeanor, a change in mental state until you start doing this consistently. And this could be a 15 to 30 minute activity that you do with your dog in the evenings, in the mornings, on the weekends, whenever you can fit it in during your day. That after a week of doing this every single day, you will see your dog's behavior constantly getting better, constantly becoming calmer, and they'll become more focused on you. They'll become more engaged with you. This is a great way to feed your dog dinner. This is a great way to get them out here when the neighborhood or the apartment complex is at its busiest. And at the very end of the day, even if you live out in an isolated area, you can really build really solid behaviors that you can transfer out to your first public outing whenever that does happen. So regardless of what is going on right now, it is not the busiest time in the neighborhood for me right now. I'm still building some really solid calm behaviors and some really solid relationship work with Rush that I can use when I take him out to the mall later today or to the farmer's market this weekend. Use your imagination, enforce boundaries, and build your dog's behavior in a way that they can handle. Once your dog starts showing you that they can sit and lay down on an object, then don't accept anything less. Once Rush has showed me this behavior, it doesn't matter if people or dogs or birds, bikes, whatever is coming past us, I'm going to enforce that down position. And you can use your leash pressure that we've talked about in that kind of a context. But once they give you the sit, once they start giving you the down, then use that. The next session you bring them out, don't wait for them to do it for you. You put them into that position and you build them up to the point where now that is the acceptable answer, and that's exactly what I want every single time, no matter what mental state you're in. Consistency will build that progress. Have fun, enjoy the process. Not every session is going to be perfect. Your dog will make mistakes. If you have questions along the way, please leave them down below or reach out to us. Good luck to you, and we'll see you in the next one.